Stay to the end. The moment Mara placed the first glowing jar in her neighbor's window will change how you think about light, nature, and what one girl can do. The dark before the light. Porthmara village, Cornwall, England. A November evening. The power had been gone for 7 days before Mara stopped waiting for it to come back. The national grid had sent one automated message and then gone silent. A storm had taken out the offshore transmission line that kept this tiny Cornish fishing village connected to the world. Repairs would take weeks, maybe longer. There were other priorities, the email said. Bigger places, more important grids. Porthmara was 38 families on a cliff edge above the Atlantic, and the electricity company had decided, politely and in bureaucratic language, that 38 families were not enough to matter immediately. 7 nights of candles, 7 mornings of spoiling fish and warming fridges, 7 evenings of children trying to read by torchlight while their parents quietly calculated what another week without power would cost. Mara was 17 years old. She was the daughter of a Cornish fisherman named Daniel and a Ghanaian-British marine scientist named Dr. Essie Mensah, who lectured remotely for Plymouth University and kept, in the spare bedroom, a laboratory that smelled of salt water and possibility. Mara had grown up between her father's boat and her mother's research, between the practical and the theoretical, between the sea as livelihood and the sea as subject. On the 7th night, she walked to the shoreline alone. There were no stars. The clouds sat low and heavy over the water. And then, as a wave broke against the rocks 20 meters from where she stood, the ocean lit up blue. Not the whole sea, a strip of it, the foam where the wave collapsed, shimmering with cold light, electric and alive, like something the water had been keeping secret until the darkness was complete enough to reveal it. Mara stood very still. She had read about bioluminescence in her mother's research papers since she was 12. She knew the science, Noctiluca scintillans, the sea sparkle. Dinoflagellates disturbed by wave action, triggering a chemical reaction between luciferin and luciferase that produced cold blue light. Millions of tiny organisms, each one invisible alone, each one producing a fraction of a glow, and together, this. She did not think about the science in that moment. She thought, if the sea can light itself, so can we. She was in her mother's laboratory by midnight. Dr. Essie Mensah found her daughter there at 2 in the morning. Every flask and jar on the workbench, the bioluminescent culture her mother had been maintaining for her research, gently agitated and softly glowing. Mara's notebook opened to a page of calculations. Essie, Mara, it's 2 o'clock. Mara, I know. Mum, how much culture can we grow? How fast? Dr. Mensah looked at the flasks, at her daughter, at the notebook. She sat down. By morning, they had a plan. The bioluminescent dinoflagellates in Dr. Mensah's research culture were Noctiluca scintillans, the same species visible in the bay. They grew in salt water enriched with specific nutrients, reproduced quickly under the right conditions, and produced consistent glow when gently disturbed. The light was not bright, but it was real, it was safe, it was free, and it was alive. Mara put a message on the village group chat at 6 in the morning. Does anyone have spare glass jars? Within 2 hours, she had 64. Porthmara was a village that kept things. Jam jars, pickle jars, old storage vessels from generations of self-sufficient coastal living. They appeared on her doorstep in carrier bags and cardboard boxes, delivered by neighbors who did not yet know what they were for. She and her mother spent 3 days culturing. They collected fresh seawater at low tide, they enriched it with the nutrient solution from the lab, they inoculated each jar from the starter culture, sealed it with breathable mesh to allow oxygen exchange, and placed it in the warmest room of the cottage where the algae could grow faster. It was not clean work, it was not glamorous, it was methodical and patient and smelled strongly of the sea, and on the fourth day, every jar on the windowsill was glowing. She delivered them on a Friday evening with a card she had typed and printed at the village hall on battery-powered equipment. How to keep your living light. Place in a window, tilt gently each evening to trigger the glow, feed with 1 teaspoon of seawater every 3 days, keep away from direct sunlight. This jar is alive. Treat it accordingly. She went to every door. Her father Daniel came with her, carrying jars in a wicker basket, saying nothing, the way fishermen say the things that matter. Old Mrs. Pengelly at the end of the lane, 81 years old, who had not left her cottage in 4 days because the dark made her fall. Mara placed the jar on her kitchen windowsill and tilted it once. The kitchen filled with soft blue-green light. Mrs. Pengelly: Lord alive, it's like the sea came indoors. Mara: it did. That's exactly what it is. By 9 o'clock, every window in Porthmara held a soft, blue-green glow, not the harsh white of electric bulbs, something older, something alive. The village on the cliff looked from the coastal path like it had been scattered with fallen stars. Mara's mother took a photograph from the path above and sent it to a colleague at Plymouth. The colleague shared it. By the following week, it had been seen by 50,000 people. By the following week, 4 million. 2 national newspapers called. A sustainability documentary team drove down from Bristol. The power company restored the connection to Porthmara 12 days later, faster, several engineers quietly admitted, than they had originally planned. 31 of the 38 households kept their jars after the power came back. Not because the bioluminescent light was brighter than electricity, it was not, but because something had changed in the act of carrying a living light from door to door, in the understanding that the solution had been in the sea all along, waiting for someone to notice it. Mara is 18 now. She has been offered a place to read marine biology at Plymouth University, her mother's university, her mother's field, arrived at by her mother's methods: observation, patience, and the conviction that the sea has already solved most of what we think of as our problems. The portable bioluminescent lighting kit she designed, based on her mother's research and her own 4 nights of coaching, is being trialed in 3 off-grid coastal communities in Cornwall and 1 fishing village in Ghana, close to where Dr. Mentz's family is from. She says she did not plan any of it. She planned only to solve the immediate problem with what she had. The light was already in the sea. She just learned to carry it home. The sea has been glowing for 500 million years. Mara was the first person in Porthmara to bring it indoors. Like, share, subscribe, comment. What would you do if your village went dark? The light was always there. It had been waiting in the sea for someone willing to carry it home.